Welcome to Xi Jinping Briefing. The content of the briefing includes David Cameron hints at future China trip as part of engagement effort. Your weekend reading, a bad week for Spirit and Boeing. The Red Sea crisis proves China was ahead of the curve. Britain cannot succeed by clinging to an obsolete industrial past. Lord Robertson, if Ukraine loses, our enemies will decide the world order. David Cameron hints at future China trip as part of engagement effort. Telegraph. David Cameron, the former UK Prime Minister, is reportedly planning to visit China as part of his approach to engage with Beijing on issues such as climate change. The move is likely to further inflame tensions with conservative backbenchers who have criticized the government's stance on China. Cameron's predecessor, James Cleverly, visited China last summer, drawing criticism from some conservative MPs who claimed the trip was an example of appeasement. Your weekend reading, a bad week for Spirit and Boeing. Bloomberg. The aviation industry is facing a number of challenges, with Boeing and Spirit Airlines both experiencing difficulties. Spirit Airlines saw shares drop after a federal judge blocked JetBlue Airways' proposed $3.8 billion acquisition, citing concerns over competition and consumer fares. Spirit Airlines, which has been losing money for 7 years, has denied rumors that it will seek bankruptcy court protection. Meanwhile, Boeing has had many of its 737 MAX 9 aircraft grounded following a door plug blowout on an Alaska Airlines flight. Passengers are suing both Boeing and Alaska Airlines, and the company also faces an investigation by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. Boeing has suffered a number of engineering and manufacturing setbacks in recent years, and its reputation has declined. Despite this, the company continues to focus on pleasing shareholders. The Red Sea crisis proves China was ahead of the curve. Foreign policy. The recent surge in Houthi rebel attacks in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait has prompted shipping carriers to halt transit through the Suez Canal and seek alternative routes. Saudi Arabia has given its approval for a land bridge from the Arabian to the Mediterranean, allowing goods to be transported via truck from Persian Gulf ports to Israel's Haifa port. This move highlights the increasing cooperation between Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Israel to cope with disruptions in maritime trade routes and to collect transit fees that would usually go to Egypt. It also demonstrates the importance of building more pathways for supply to meet demand in order to mitigate supply chain disruptions caused by geopolitical shocks and climate change. China has long recognized the need for more supply chains and has been actively pursuing its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, to build as many pathways as possible for supply to meet demand. The BRI has been transformative, with $1 trillion of capital flowing to BRI member states since 2013. Other countries, such as India and Turkey, have also proposed their own trade transit corridors to boost connectivity and trade. The West has started to counter China's influence by launching its own infrastructure programs, such as the G7's Build Back Better World initiative. The infrastructure arms race is now well underway, and the more the world invests in critical infrastructure, the less likely it becomes that all roads lead to China. An infrastructurally hyperconnected world is desirable and essential for civilizational survival as climate change accelerates. Climate stress will likely lead to mass migration and the need to build infrastructure in more climate-resilient geographies. Investments in infrastructure create jobs, raise productivity, drive consumption and trade, and attract talent and capital. Ultimately, the fate of infrastructure is not a zero-sum game, and the answer to its future lies in building more. Britain cannot succeed by clinging to an obsolete industrial past. Telegraph. The closure of Tata Steel's last remaining blast furnaces in the UK, at Port Talbot, is a sign of the country's deindustrialization, according to a Telegraph op-ed. The author contends that the decision to close the furnaces, and a similar decision by Jingye Group to replace primary steel production at Scunthorpe with electric arc furnaces, is partly driven by government-imposed net zero ambitions and the demand from customers for greener steel. The closure of the furnaces is evidence of the UK's willingness to let go of its industrial past and embrace the industries of the future, such as the creative industries, technology, AI and life sciences. The op-ed points out that in a world awash with uneconomic steelmaking capacity, it is much smarter to buy the country's needs from elsewhere and apply the consequent savings to the industries of the future. However, the author notes that reliance on other countries for basic needs is increasingly concerning, particularly for security reasons. Lord Robertson, if Ukraine loses, our enemies will decide the world order. Telegraph. Lord George Robertson, the former UK Defence Secretary and NATO Secretary-General, has warned that the world is currently experiencing a period of global volatility unlike anything in history, and we are not rising to the occasion. He argues that the world is experiencing a rapid velocity of technological, scientific and environmental change, which is creating new vulnerabilities such as pandemics and cyber warfare. He also highlights the current crisis of values in the West and a vacuum of leadership. Robertson believes that, if Ukraine loses its war against Russia, the world order will be determined by China, Russia, Iran and North Korea, creating an uncomfortable world for future generations. Dear viewers, I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your weekend. It's your favorite observer from the 6 Degrees World, Dr. Six, here to bring you the latest news roundup. Let's dive right in. Former UK Prime Minister David Cameron is reportedly planning a trip to China to engage with Beijing on issues like climate change. This move has sparked criticism from conservative backbenchers who accuse the government of appeasement. Well, it seems like Cameron is really going the extra mile to make friends across the globe. Maybe he's taking inspiration from the famous saying, "If you can't beat them, join them." The aviation industry has had a rough week, with both Boeing and Spirit Airlines facing difficulties. Spirit Airlines saw its shares drop after a federal judge blocked JetBlue Airways' acquisition, citing concerns over competition. Meanwhile, Boeing has had several setbacks, including grounded aircraft and ongoing lawsuits. But hey, at least they're still focused on pleasing their shareholders. Because who needs happy passengers when you have happy investors, right? In geopolitical news, the recent surge in rebel attacks in the Red Sea has prompted shipping carriers to seek alternative routes. Saudi Arabia has even approved a land bridge to transport goods via truck from the Persian Gulf to Israel's Haifa port. It seems like everyone is scrambling to find new pathways for supply chains. China has been way ahead of the game with its Belt and Road Initiative, but other countries are starting to catch up. The world has become an infrastructure arms race, and soon, all roads will lead somewhere other than China. Speaking of infrastructure, an op-ed in The Telegraph argues that the closure of Tata Steel's blast furnaces in the UK is a sign of the country's deindustrialization. The author suggests that the UK should let go of its industrial past and focus on industries like technology and AI. It's all about embracing the future, right? But let's not forget about the concerns of relying on other countries for basic needs, especially when it comes to security. Finally, former UK Defence Secretary Lord Robertson warns that the world is facing a period of global volatility. He highlights the rapid changes in technology, science, and the environment, which create new vulnerabilities. He also emphasizes the crisis of values in the West and a lack of leadership. According to Robertson, if Ukraine loses its war against Russia, the world order will be determined by China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Well, that doesn't sound like a party I'd want to attend. And that's a wrap on this week's news roundup. It's been quite a roller coaster ride, hasn't it? Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you make of Cameron's China trip, the aviation industry's troubles, the race for infrastructure, and the future world order? Share your ideas, questions, or even your favorite roller coaster experience in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Dr. Six. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.